Welcome to the very first episode of the 107K podcast. I'm Lexi Linderman.
I'm Andrew Mercer.
And I'm Noah Abereg.
Obviously, with James Franklin departing from the program in October, we had to make an adjustment to the podcast name. Want to Know was kind of his thing. They've taken it down from the Lash building, the practice field, so we had to adjust just like Penn State did, and the Matt Campbell era is now here, which means it's a new era for the pod. But today, we are going to talk about our takeaways from Media on Tuesday, cover a little bit of some blue-white storylines that we're looking at, and also touch a little bit on the draft, which starts tonight, Thursday, the day we're filming this, and goes through the weekend through Saturday. But guys, just to start it off, what is something that you kind of took away from Media on Tuesday? Obviously, we had Campbell talking the defensive line. What were your initial takeaways?
We were talking to Kashif Moore on Tuesday and about his hiring process. He was the latest hire coming from Colorado State, where actually he was the guy from UConn, the wide receivers coach from UConn, and only spent about 2 months at Colorado State before Matt Campbell, when he brought Noah Pauley in from Iowa State, he left to go to the Green Bay Packers of the NFL. And so that left a scramble. So you kind of have to go look for a new guy to build those relationships with the wide receiver core, and that's exactly what Coach Kashif Moore is doing. And it's part of his holistic approach to coaching, is what he's told me. And that includes he's not only building players that, they're going to be on the field competitive, he's building future husbands and fathers of children, and that are going to take the maturity that they earn from Penn State into their daily lives when football is all said and done. So he's not only building them on the field, but he's building them off the field as well.
A big thing Matt Campbell talked about on Tuesday was obviously moving forward from spring practice. Obviously, spring ball is going to be over on Saturday with the 15th practice and the blue-white practice. And so he'll be moving into his first summer with Penn State. So he's kind of been talking about how he's going to meet with all of his players, all of his staff, and kind of develop those plans for this summer. Obviously, there's 40 new players at Penn State, and obviously most of those are new to Matt Campbell. He had many transfers coming from Iowa State, and many coaching staff, and just other staff coming from Iowa State. But there's a lot of new people overall just here in Happy Valley, and Matt Campbell wants to get everyone on the same foot moving forward, kind of regroup for the summer, and really just make a plan to help every player individually get to their goals and just be where they want to be when fall season comes around.
And it's good that you mentioned that all the new people that came from Iowa State, because this is going to be their first time playing at Beaver Stadium in front of fans. They had, last Saturday, they had a practice there, but the stands were empty. And Matt Campbell said that there were a lot of wide eyes of people going in there for the first time at Beaver Stadium, and just seeing the one of the largest stadiums in this side of the world. So yeah, this is going to be their first time playing in front of the fans, and they're hype. Chase Sowell was saying that he can't wait to be here. He was a bit of a college football journeyman of sorts. He started out at Colorado, then moved to East Carolina, then went to Matt Campbell at Iowa State, and then followed him here. But he said he really wasn't expecting playing at Beaver Stadium, and especially at home, to be in the cards for him. So he's hype about it.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Kashif Moore a little bit, because Andrew, you talk about how he wants to build the players off the field as well, and that is something that, talking to the entire staff, that Matt Campbell is really all about. Deion Broomfield talked about it a lot back in February, that he came to Matt Campbell because he knows he became a better husband, a better father because of Matt Campbell. And I think that's just something that you kind of see across the board with Matt Campbell. Talking to a lot of the players who came with him at the day that they had all those guys available for media. Like, you ask them, why'd you follow him? It's like, because he really builds you to be a better person, not just a good football player. And that is, really important for a lot of guys, especially at the college level, because you have, the handful that are actually going to make a career in the NFL, but you have a lot that are going to end up, working, like a job, like just a normal job. Like, football isn't life. Like, football is temporary. And like, a lot of times college football players can get caught up in the idea that, oh yeah, I'm going to the NFL, I'm going to go make all this money. And it just doesn't work out for a lot of guys. That's just, the probability statistics of it all. And so I think Matt Campbell is very strategic with his coaching hires. I think Kashif Moore is another great example of that. Something that just he just wants guys that fit his bill, and he's not going to stray from that. And I think he's done a good job here at Penn State kind of making sure that has stayed. But the Pauley, like you said, Andrew, the Pauley departure was really unexpected, and it was a very quick turnaround. And I think, all of the wide receivers would have loved for Pauly to stay. But I think, based on the early feedback that we got on Tuesday, it seems like Kashif Moore is doing a good job so far. But yeah, going back to blue-white practice, Campbell talked a little bit about the format. His first thing he was asked, because obviously in the past this has been the blue-white game, not the blue-white practice, although it has kind of transitioned itself into a practice the last few years, even though they were still technically keeping score. But Campbell's kind of just doing away with that, making it basically an open practice for fans. There's going to be some 7-on-7 and 11-on-11, which I'm most interested to see because we didn't really get a look at that when we had open practice a few weeks ago. The 2 times we had it this spring, we just saw the team stretching the individual drills and things like that, which you will also be seeing on Saturday. But then we'll have some 7-on-7, 11-on-11 that we'll get to see. And so I think that is going to be where you're really going to get your first look at what this team actually kind of looks like. And I know Matt Campbell's talked a lot about nothing is set in stone until the fall. Nothing's set in stone until week 1. And Ikaika Malloy talked about how they have no idea who's going to start on the defensive line yet. That is still a work in progress. And so I think it's just going to be interesting to see right now who's, that first group of offense, first group of defense for 11-on-11, because that's really where you're going to get, a depth chart projection at the end of the spring. The one thing I am expecting from 11-on-11 is a lot of guys not to be playing. Rocco Becht, Brett Eskildsen, Chase Sowell. I don't think any of them are going to play. I would say maybe Sowell and Eskildsen play a little bit, just because I know Campbell said they're a little ahead of pace than what they initially thought, but I don't think Becht is going to throw an 11-on-11, but I think he will in 7-on-7 because he threw in 7-on-7 at Beaver Stadium last Saturday, which is what Campbell said. But just kind of transitioning to fully talking about the white practice, what players, position groups, storylines are you guys kind of looking at for Saturday?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at the running backs. There's a bit of a 3-way battle for who's going to take the majority of the reps come week 1. You got the Iowa State transfer, Carson Hansen. He followed Matt Campbell. He knows the scheme. He knows what Matt Campbell's coaching is all about. Of course, all these guys do, having practiced with him all spring. But Carson Hansen, he was the guy at Iowa State for 2 seasons and was a reserve in his freshman year. So he seems to have the upper edge on the situation. But he's going up against James Peoples, Ohio State transfer, sat behind Bo Jackson and C.J. Donaldson for 2 seasons. Before transferring here, try to get some more playing time. And he's a younger guy. He and Quentin Martin Jr. Staying here at Penn State are really looking at the future of the running back room, and they're going to be duking it out to see who's going to, grow into the role and follow from Carson if he ends up getting the starting reps. But really, what I'm looking at is James Peoples and Carson Hansen right now in terms of filling that Nick Singleton, Katron Allen kind of tandem, that RB1, RB2 situation.
And Andrew, you talked about the running back room, but in order to have good running backs, you need a strong offensive line, and that's going to be another big question heading into this weekend. Obviously, 4 Penn State starters from last year are departing. Most of them hopefully going to go to the NFL. And so you have a lot of questions entering this weekend, entering the fall, as to who's going to take the starting role. Obviously, one of the big names heading in is redshirt freshman Malachi Goodman. He really impressed all throughout the spring. He impressed last year, even though he didn't get any playing time. And he's really just built a name for himself and is hoping to cement himself as one of those big names heading into the blue-white game, blue-white practice, and is likely going to take first-team reps this weekend.
Yeah, I think Goodman's definitely taking first-team reps this weekend. I think the offensive line that you're going to see on Saturday is not going to be the offensive line you're going to see week 1 because Anthony Donko is out this spring with an injury, and he is, I would say, likely 100% going to be Penn State's starting right tackle. But I do think it'll be interesting to see Cooper Cousins finally get, he started in the Pinstripe Bowl, but he was a guy that his true freshman year, burned his red shirt, was one of 3 guys to do that in 2024, and then just kind of, some expected him to be a starter last year, and it was definitely hard to break into that starting 5, but he did get some rotation, starting the Pinstripe Bowl, like I said, and now it's his turn to kind of show that all the praise that he's gotten the last 2 years is warranted. And I know Ryan Clan has talked a lot about how he fits the bill of violence perfectly, which is what Ryan Clan is all about, as we've seen this spring. And then you've got center Brock Riker, who we're kind of going to see for the first time. Obviously, he's kind of in that center battle with Dom Ruley, but Dom Ruley's been hurt all spring, so Riker's gotten all those first-team reps. And so it's going to be, Goodman, first time seeing the field for Penn State. I think it's very interesting that he didn't play at all last year and is just shooting up the ranks this year. I don't think that's a coincidence. I know Clan has talked about how his body mass is just like ridiculously insane. Like it's just genetics, like that he is just so athletic and has such like an insane BMI. And so it's like going to be interesting to see like how he really looks on Saturday. But then you flip to the other side of the ball. How are those pass rushers going to look? How is that defensive line going to look? Because the pass rushers, we've talked about it a lot this spring, but the pass rushers are very inexperienced. You've got Ike, you've got Alex McPherson, you've got Max Scramble, who won't be playing on Saturday as he still continues to heal from injury. You've got Ivan Kamaju. Like, you've got a lot of young guys, and so it's going to be interesting to see, you've got a young Malachi Goodman against, a young right tackle stepping in for Anthony Donko. It's like young versus young, like who's going to step up in that area. And then on the defensive line, it's just such a bigger defensive tackles. And like we've talked about this too, that Penn State has always had kind of undersized guy. That's just kind of what Deion Barnes, did. It fit, the schemes that they have. But Deanton Lynn loves big defensive tackles for his schemes. Ikaika Malloy produces them like crazy. So this is just going to be a really different defensive line. And so I'm interested to see that. But I'm really interested to look at the wide receivers. Mentioned Chase Sowell and Brett Eskildson, but Kobe Howard has been a guy that he is 100% going to be the number 3 wide receiver next year. He is 100%, I think, going to start. And he is going to be, the guy on Saturday. If Eskildson and Sowell are not playing 11 on 11, he's going to be that guy. He's going to be the guy that Connor Berry is looking for. Then you've also got Caron Brookins, you've got Zay Robinson, you've got Amarian Jackson, who Campbell had a lot of praise for on Tuesday as just a true freshman. And so there's a lot of guys in that wide receiver room that I think are ready to contribute, and we'll get a look at all of them on Saturday. And this is obviously a position that Penn State fans want to see production at. Like, this is a position group that has severely struggled since 2023, and now it's obviously new era, new wide receivers coach, like a lot new wide receivers. And so it's going to be interesting to see if the struggles continue, if this truly, Penn State leaves the wide receiver struggles in the past. We have no idea, obviously, because we thought last year the wide receivers are going to be good. They brought in 3 transfers. Everyone was like, this is great. The day is saved. And then they were horrible. So it's like you really just don't really know till week 1, even like week 4, how it's really going to pan out. So I'm interested to see that as well. And then we'll also get a really good look at the young quarterbacks and Connor Berry, who isn't young, but has been taking first-team reps all spring for Penn State and, scrimmages with Rocco Becht kind of limited. So I'm interested to see how he looks. And then you've got the young guys, Peyton Falzone, Case Evans. How are they going to look? It's probably a lot for them playing in Beaver Stadium in front of fans, even though it is just a practice. Like, that is it's a very big environment and moment. It's like a lot of people just get really nervous, and I would expect the same from them, just because they are true freshmen, very young.
And let's see, you mentioned Connor Berry throwing the ball to those wide receivers, but I also another thing that we're going to look at is the tight end room. Obviously, a lot of them are battling injuries and have battled injuries throughout the spring. So just seeing who's going to step up out of that group, I think will be another big storyline this weekend.
Yeah, I do think, though, Benjamin Brommer is going to be getting 90% of those reps. I mean, not 90%, but he's getting the majority of those with the room so banged up, because he is the guy. He is the go-to guy. So I think it'll be interesting, though, to just see how he plays. Obviously you see what's on tape at Iowa State. He's freakishly tall, freakishly good athlete. And it's going to be interesting to see, because I think tight ends are such a big part of Taylor Mauser's scheme. He's talked about it a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see that kind of in play on Saturday. I think what we're going to see, though, is very vanilla. So I would take all of it with a grain of salt. But yeah, I talked a little bit about the fans, so let's transition to that. Obviously, fans know this isn't a game. Fans know this is just an open practice. With that being said, how packed do you think Beaver Stadium gets? And I'm also going to say that I would assume the west side of the stadium is not going to be open for fans as it still undergoes renovations. So just with that in mind as well, how many fans do you think show up this weekend?
Usually, what was it, around 60,000?
Yeah,
was
around
it last
60
year?
to 70,000, okay. Yeah.
So, considering that blue-white game last year had about that, and that included the full stadium, right?
No.
It didn't?
No, west side was blocked off.
Maybe a little bit of a drop-off, honestly, is my prediction for what's going to happen, because, people show up to that thinking it's going to be a full 4-quarter game, but now that is not. Maybe a little bit of a drop-off. I'm going to call it around 40,000 possibly. That's my prediction going into it.
I think we'll have another repeat of Nets of last year when they had about 60,000. Fans are excited about the new Matt Campbell era, and there's a lot to see this weekend. Obviously, you mentioned Rocco Bat likely won't be getting a whole lot of playing time. He'll see some 7-on-7, but just fans being able to go see him and just go see everything that Matt Campbell has to offer heading into this season. I think there'll be around 60,000 people.
Yeah, I would say I'm gonna go right in the middle and say about 50,000. I don't think more than 5,000 students actually go into the game. I think it's more gonna be your fans that really care a lot about, like, not that students don't care a lot, but like they don't really care about an open practice as much as like some of these diehard fans who just really want to look at this team do, because it's like there hasn't been a new head coach since 2014. Like, this is just a completely new, like, everything is just brand new, and it's like I could not even tell you right now how good I think Penn State is going to be in the fall, because I honestly just don't know. It's like we've only had 2 practices to look at them. We'll get a third on Saturday, but it's like, so I think fans are interested to come out and see just how good Penn State's going to be. But I also, like I said, take everything on Saturday with a grain of salt, just because it is going to be so vanilla, and a lot of important guys are hurt, and a lot of those position battles are not going to be short up to the fall, which Matt Campbell has talked about a lot. But yeah, I would say they're still going to get a pretty solid turnout. I'm very interested to see the theatrics of it all, like how they kind of like introduce Matt Campbell. Like, is the team going to run out of the tunnel to Zombie Nation? Like, I don't know how they're going to do it, because they're still doing a team entrance like they would for a normal game. I don't know if they're going to still be playing Mobama from the speakers. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. And that's the fun with this, because, in the past, like, it's going to be a game. There's going to be a team blue, a team white, and now it's just kind of like, I have no idea what's happening on Saturday. And it's kind of scary, but it's okay. It's going to be great. Let's turn our attention. Like I said, the draft starts tonight as we're filming this on Thursday. By the time this comes out, Vega Ioane will already be drafted. We talked about that a little last week, but he's kind of mocked to the Ravens, Lions, Bucks, Steelers, Chargers, just anywhere in that 14 to like 25 range he can honestly go. And if he goes in that 20 range, I think that's a steal for whoever does pick him up there. So let's focus, though, on some of the later guys. So we've got Drew Aller, Zachy Wheatley, Dennis Sutton, that I think are going to go day 2. Drew could be day 3, very early day 3, I would say. And then you've got a lot of guys who are going to go day 3, like Zane Durant, Drew Shelton, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. All those guys are probably going to be day 3 picks. But so that's just kind of what the recent mock drafts are saying, but I want to ask you guys one bold draft prediction for this weekend, excluding Vanga, because he will already be drafted by the time this comes out.
Makes sense. And my bold draft prediction is that Trevor Pena is going to slip his way into the 7th round. There's been a lot of talk about him possibly being an undrafted free agent, being signed after the draft. After his senior season at Penn State didn't pan out how he wanted it to after a really stellar junior campaign at Syracuse. But I guess his ability to translate the game from the ACC to the Big Ten, and with the quarterback changes and everything like that, it didn't quite go his way, but he's shown flashes of the receiver that's fast, that can break through, that can play the slot, that can play outside, and I think that he slips that into the 7th round just because someone's going to want him in their depth.
And I guess bouncing off that, with someone slipping into the 7th round, I think Gabe Nwosu might be drafted on Saturday. Obviously, punters don't get drafted very often. Only 1, 2, maybe 3 get drafted throughout the whole draft. Gabe's just a big guy, and he has a lot to offer. Obviously, a majority of his punts went inside the 20-yard line this year. He had a lot of success punting the ball. He had a lot of success with kickoffs. We never saw him kick a field goal, but obviously that was something that he did during warm-ups, and he showed he was capable of making some of those 55-plus yarders. He just has a lot to offer, and could make himself be one of those top punters that are drafted this weekend.
And he's a freak athlete. Like, he's a massive individual, and to be honest, he took the job from Riley Thompson, who was started for 2 years, and that experience, I guess he doesn't have the same level of playing experience that Riley Thompson did have, but that kind of size and that leg that he has could be really appetizing to teams that don't have a punter with that power. Yeah.
Okay. Personally, I don't think Gabe Nwosu's getting drafted, but I think if a Penn State special teamer is going to get drafted, Tyler Duzansky is that guy. I mean, long snappers are it's very hard to make an NFL career as a long snapper because each team only needs one, and then I guess you have a backup, but like you're not making that much money, and so every team only needs one, and it's a very rare position to get drafted. But Tyler Duzansky is probably a top 2 long snapper available in this draft. There's some teams that need them. Like I know the Eagles need a long snapper, and that's a local, school, in-state school for Tyler Duzansky. I think he could slip into the end of the 7th round. That's not my bold prediction, but just going off the special teams thing, I do think Tyler Duzansky is probably the most likely special teamer to get drafted, and I think he's probably the most likely to actually have an NFL career just because of all the success that he had at Penn State. I think Gabe will probably get signed somewhere, but I don't know. I just feel like he's definitely a freak athlete. He'll definitely get a chance somewhere. I just don't know if he is if there's enough on tape for a team to really take a chance on him in the 7th round. Same thing with Riley Thompson. Like if these guys are getting into the NFL, it says an undrafted free agent. Like if you're gonna draft a punter, like it better be one of the best in the country. And like Gabe Nwosu was very good, but I just I don't think he was good enough to earn himself an actual selection. But my bold prediction, I kind of mentioned that I think Drew Aller is going to be a day 2 pick, and he's recently been mocked a lot in the 4th round, but I think with quarterbacks, you just never know. Like, Ty Simpson might be an end of the 1st round pick. Like, Carson Beck might be a top 2 round pick. Like, you just never know with quarterbacks because it's such a rare and needy position. Like, teams will reach for a quarterback because they need one. And I think Drew Aller, like, he is very appetizing for teams just because of that arm. His arm is probably the best in the draft. He said himself he thinks it's the best in the draft, and like honestly I would agree with him. Like he just has such natural power from that arm, and it comes from his physique, it comes from his hand size. Like he is like a very good NFL prototype quarterback. It's just those weaknesses obviously are the reason he's not a 1st round pick, even though he was supposed to be after the 2024 season. That up and down year to start 2025 before the injury really cost him, but I still think Drew Aller is talented enough to go day 2. I think 100. Like you don't finish 1st in program history completion percentage at Penn State if you're not a good quarterback. Do I think he's a great quarterback? Like not right now, but I think in the right situation in the NFL, if you fix the footwork, if you get the mental side of it straight, like he can be a very good NFL quarterback. I think he needs to sit behind someone before that happens. I think he needs to be coach for 1 or 2 years before that happens, but I think he can carve out a very good NFL career, and I think someone takes a chance on him on day 2. Like I said, you want it to be a good fit though. Like if he ends up at the Jets, like this man is not having an NFL career. Like he's going to be a journeyman backup forever. But if he goes to a team like the Rams, where he can sit behind Matthew Stafford, who is working on a contract extension with the Rams, like that would be a really good fit for Drew Aller, especially with Sean McVay there, Nate Scheelhaas, like all of that perfect situation. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, going to the Steelers, like that could be a good situation for him too. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers has done a lot of great things in his career. Could be a really good mentor for Drew Aller, mentor Jordan Love at the Packers, and look how that turned out. So I just think Drew Aller, I think he's going to be a day 2 pick. Probably round 3. I don't really think he slips into the 2nd round, but I think he should be a 3rd round pick. I just think there's too much potential to pass up, but like that is what has always been said about Drew Aller. But it's time now for him to actually show that the potential is warranted, and to show that he can actually reach that potential. So, but I still think he slips into day 2, and I think like in the right situation, like I said, he can carve out a really nice NFL career, and like I think at the end of the day, like him and Vanga could end up being like the 2 players from this class you look back and you're like, oh wow, like these were the 2 guys from Penn State that really, made their mark in the NFL. And like also with Drew, like there hasn't been a successful Penn State quarterback in the NFL since Kerry Collins. It's like if Drew does pan out, like it's a really good look for Penn State quarterback wise, just because, like I said, it's been since Kerry Collins. Like the last time a Penn State quarterback was drafted on day 2 was Christian Hackenberg, and obviously didn't really have that great of an NFL career, but was a backup for a few years. Made himself some money. So I just think Drew has probably the most potential of any Penn State quarterback since Kerry Collins, and I think a team is going to bite on that. That's all we have for you today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. For more coverage, you can visit us at psucollegian.com, follow us on socials, and subscribe to our newsletter for content curated to your box every Friday. And also make sure you're staying up to date with our NFL draft coverage that is coming all weekend. So yeah, thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you next time.